All right, so let's talk about free speech. You might be familiar with the case of Columbia University and Mahmoud Khalil, who is a protester, well, was a protester during the protests on campuses around the country. And he is a green card holder. So he has legal status, but that didn't prevent ICE from arresting him, and he's facing deportation. Why? Because he organized the protest at Columbia against Israel's treatment of Palestinians. Now, he is a Palestinian activist. We do not know if he's anti Semitic. We do not know his feelings about Jews in general, or if this is simply that he has a problem with the way Israel responded to what happened. We don't know how he feels about Hamas, but considering that most Palestinians aren't fans, it's entirely possible he isn't either. But because Trump lives in this black and white world, where unfortunately way too many Israelis live too, where you either agree with everything Israel does and think they're the best thing that's ever happened to humanity and that they can't do any wrong, or you're pro Hamas, which, no, there's plenty in between those two positions. But anyway, let's get to today's article, and this is from the AP. What to know about Mahmoud Khalil, the Columbia protester arrested by ICE and facing deportation. And did I mention he's a green card holder? So he has legal status. So for those of you who are like, oh, we're only going after illegal immigrants and criminals, well, he's neither of those. So there is that. Because, people like Trump and Elon are screaming free speech. But somehow, when the speech is something they claim to not like, suddenly it's criminal. So, I don't know about you, but I don't want to live in a world where if I say something someone else doesn't like, I could be charged with a crime for just speaking an opinion you don't like. I mean, if you want to if you want to to talk back to me for it, even swear at me, whatever, that's legal. That's fine. But to charge me with a crime just because you don't like something I said? No. Anyway, to the article. A Palestinian activist who I cannot talk tonight, who helped lead student protests at Columbia University, faces deportation after being arrested over the weekend by federal immigration officials. President Donald Trump has warned that the apprehension of Mahmoud Khalil, a legal permanent resident, represents the first arrest of many, which should chill everybody, as his administration cracks down on campus opposition to the war in Gaza. Now, again, if just because someone has a problem with the fact that Gaza is being decimated doesn't mean they're pro Hamas, doesn't mean that they like what happened October 7th, doesn't mean any of that. It just means that Israel is decimating Gaza. And Netanyahu is gleefully using October 7th as an excuse to get rid of the Palestinian problem because he wants Gaza for himself. That's why he's allowing for illegal settlements to to continue into Gaza and the West Bank as well, but that's not talked about as much. Anyway, but a federal judge temporarily blocked the 30-year-old's expulsion from the country. So, what happened? Khalil was detained Saturday night as he and his wife were returning to their Columbia University-owned apartment in Upper Manhattan by officials from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. The agents told the couple that Khalil was being detained because his student visa had been revoked. When his wife provided documents proving he was a green card holder, the agent said that was also being revoked and took him away in handcuffs, according to a lawsuit Khalil's attorneys filed challenging his detention. Now, there are situations where a green card can be revoked. Saying something people don't like, not one of them. Now, were there protesters at this protest who probably went overboard and attacked Jewish students? I'm sure there were. I mean, let's face it, there are assholes everywhere. I mean, let's face it, Netanyahu is using what happened on October 7th to destroy a country that he wants destroyed because he wants to expand Israel into Gaza. So, of course, there are going to be assholes everywhere. There are going to be people who take advantage of the situation to attack Jewish students. Absolutely. Did he do that? Did he do anything that was criminal? No. From what we know so far, no. He just organized a protest against what was happening in Gaza. So, yeah. Not criminal. All right, why is he facing deportation? Because Trump needs to show the country that he's being tough on illegal immigrants, even when you're deporting people who aren't illegal and aren't criminals. So, yeah. The Department of Homeland Security, confirming his arrest Saturday, accused Khalil of leading activities aligned to Hamas, a designated terrorist organization. Again, just because you have a problem with what Israel's doing in Gaza does not make you pro-Hamas. It just means that you don't think that Israel should decimate a country just because they want to eliminate Hamas. Because, as the U.S. discovered very quickly when they detained a bunch of innocent people because of their war on terrorism, all you're doing is creating more terrorists. Because people who have nothing to lose and who hate you with a fiery passion because how you decided to cruelly and unjustly attack them, well, you just created a terrorist. Great job. So, no. Actually, ironically, Israel is being pro-Hamas because they are creating a situation where people are going to be willing to join Hamas or other terrorist groups to get back at Israel for the injustice they did in Gaza, the West Bank, and anywhere else. So, great job. You are creating the very monster you claim you're trying to get rid of. The White House, elaborating more on its position Tuesday, claimed Khalil organized protests where pro-Hamas propaganda was distributed. Now, I don't know if that's true. The Trump administration has a problem with the truth and problem with reality. But even if that were the case, let's say there were demonstrators who had pro-Hamas propaganda. Let's pretend that. How is that his fault? He didn't do that. So if he didn't do that, how is he supposed to be in charge of every protester? He can't go around saying, "Oh, you're handing out pro-Hamas material." That's not what this protest is about. He can't do that. This was a large protest and it went for multiple nights. It's not like he has the time, because he's a student. It's not like he has the time to go around and make sure that the protesters are protesting the correct way. That's assuming that this propaganda was actually distributed. This administration is not going to tolerate individuals having the privilege of studying in our country and then siding with pro-terrorist organizations that have killed Americans, said Caroline Leavitt, Trump's press secretary. Yeah. I mean, again, just because there might have been some asshole protesters doesn't mean all protesters were involved in that. That's just not how anything works. A lawyer for Khalil, Sama Sisse, said there's no evidence that his client provided support of any kind to a terrorist organization. They're trying to make an example of him to chill others from making similar speech, Sisse told the Associated Press. Not agreeing with your government's foreign policy decision to support Israel is not a reason for you to be in deportation proceedings. Exactly. If he truly was supporting Hamas, then obviously there would be a reason. But just claiming that he did is not reason enough. You actually have to come up with tangible evidence. Show proof that he himself was distributing propaganda, pro-Hamas propaganda. The only thing you have him for is organizing a protest against Israel for not just attacking Gaza, but decimating Gaza, just leveling Gaza to the point that it's uninhabitable. All because that's what Bibi wants. He wants to create a situation where he can take over Gaza. That's why when Trump came up with his cuckoo bananas plan of making Gaza the Riviera of the Middle East, Bibi was sitting back looking like the cat that ate the cream. Because he wants that. He wants probably rich Jews, not just rich people, but rich Jews to be living in Gaza and kick all Palestinians out. Because he hates Palestinians. So, yeah. I mean, he said it many times he doesn't want a two-state solution, so this should come as no surprise to anybody. Anyway, who is Mahmoud Khalil? Khalil is one of the most visible activists in the protests last spring at Columbia, which also happened on other college campuses around the world. He served as the student negotiator, a role that had him speaking frequently with university officials and the press. More recently, he was among the pro-Palestinian activists investigated by a new disciplinary body at Columbia University focused on harassment and discrimination complaints. Khalil completed his master's degree in public administration at Columbia School of International Public Affairs in December. So, Khalil was born and raised in Syria after his Palestinian grandparents were removed from their homeland, according to his lawsuit. He came to the U.S. on student visa in 2022 to pursue his graduate studies at Columbia. Khalil married his wife, who is a U.S. citizen, in 2023. He became a legal permanent resident, also known as a green card holder, last year. Okay, can the government deport green card holders? The short answer is yes. Green card holders can be deported, but the government has the burden to prove the person is deportable. Which is why they have to make up shit like, oh, he's aiding and abetting Hamas, because that would be a deportable offense. Grounds for deportation can range from being convicted of a range of crimes, from murder, assault, and burglary to tax evasion, domestic violence, and illegal firearms possession, according to Stephen Yale Lohr, an immigration law expert and retired Cornell law professor. But a legal permanent resident can also be expelled for providing material support to a terrorist group, in which case the government doesn't need a criminal conviction to bring a deportation charge, he said. Material support for immigration purposes is much broader than the criminal definition of the term, Yale Lohr explained. For example, people have been deported for simply providing a cup of water or bowl of rice to guerrilla groups, even under duress. Okay, now, I can understand willingly doing that, but under duress? I'm sorry. If they were being forced to, why are they being punished? That makes zero sense. Okay, where is Khalil? Khalil is being held at a federal immigration detention facility in a central Louisiana town, roughly 170 miles or 275 kilometers northwest of New Orleans. The Central Louisiana Ice Processing Center in Jenna, which is a low-slung complex ringed by barbed wire fences, can hold about 1,160 detainees. Louisiana became a hub for immigration detention during the first Trump administration and has 9 centers, most of them run by private contractors. Which, I'm sorry, that screams monetary incentive to detain anybody and everybody to fill up the detention centers so they can make money. Critics say the isolated complexes cut prisoners off from easy access to attorneys and family. The intent is to kind of break the morale, the spirits of those that are held at these facilities. Yasmin Taib, the legislative and political director of the Muslim activist group Empower Change, told reporters Tuesday. So what's next? A federal judge in Manhattan has ordered the government to not deport Khalil until the court has a chance to review the case. A hearing on his legal challenge is tentatively scheduled for Wednesday. So as of this recording, that would be tomorrow. Khalil also has an initial hearing in immigration court in Louisiana on March 21st. Khalil's lawyers contend he has a right to due process as a legal permanent resident and that the government is engaging in blatant efforts to target and chill Khalil's free speech and to discriminate against particular viewpoints in violation of the First Amendment. They are also petitioning the court to have him returned to New York as his wife is 8 months pregnant. For everyone reading this, I urge you to see Mahmoud through my eyes as a loving husband and the future father to our baby, his wife, who has not been named, wrote in a statement provided by his lawyers. I need you to help bring Mahmoud home, so he is here beside me, holding my hand in the delivery room as we welcome our first child into this world. And it's probably for the best that they don't name her because as we pointed out, there are assholes on both sides. So there are plenty of people who would probably attack this poor woman simply for being married to a Palestinian, simply for being married to someone who dared to stand up to Israel and demand that Colombia divest from any Israeli investments because of what is happening in Gaza. Because there are people who are convinced that Israel can do no wrong, no matter what, that Israel is always 100% right, their shit don't stink, and anyone who dares to criticize Israel must be anti Semitic. And it completely ignoring the fact that there are plenty of people in Israel who have protested the way the Israeli government is handling this war. Because they're more interested in bombing the hell out of Gaza than actually bringing hostages home. And certainly at this point, when the protests were happening, that was certainly the case. Obviously, now they have some sort of ceasefire. Well, phase one went off pretty much without a hitch. And now phase two has just gone to shit. So there are still hostages. I don't think there are any hostages that are alive that are still being held, but there are still hostages being held in Gaza. So, yeah, I can just imagine that the protests are going to build up again. But anyway, so yeah, tell a bunch of Israeli Jews that they're anti Semitic because they actually are criticizing their government like literally any democratic country allows people to do. Now, whether you agree with those protests, whether you agree with the criticism, is a different story. But everybody has a right to criticize their government. And once you start chilling that because you do not like said criticism for whatever reason, that is not free speech. That is very chilling. And yeah, the people who claim that they are all for free speech, yeah, they're the ones who want to silence pro-Palestinian protesters simply because they decided that all Palestinians are Hamas. Or just all Palestinians are terrorists in general. Hell, a lot of these people think all Muslims are terrorists. So, yeah. Whichever group you fit in, because it's a Russian nesting doll of bigotry, but, and Islamophobia, but still, no matter what you think of Muslims, Palestinians, Arabs, whatever you think about them, I would hope that most of you would be worried that Trump is going after people who express views he doesn't like, because it's only a matter of time before he will go after anyone and everyone who expresses a view he doesn't like. Right now, it's those who are pro-Palestinian and not, I wouldn't even say anti-Israel, but anti this government. And it's only a matter of time before he's like, oh, well, that worked well. I didn't get a lot of pushback, so I'm going to then go after this group of people that, I don't like for whatever reason. All I can remind you is the Holocaust poem. First, they came for the socialists, but I didn't speak up because I wasn't a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a trade unionist. And then they came for the Jews, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a Jew. And then they came for me, and there was nobody left to speak up for me. So, you might think that you are on the correct side, that you are safe because, Trump isn't going to go after you because you're a good little MAGA. He's going to find some reason to come after you. So, yeah. I mean, even in the first administration, one little thing, and he turns on you. I'm surprised, actually, that he hasn't turned on Pam Bondi yet, because she wants to release the Epstein files. And she was upset that what she ended up releasing was nothing new. That was all things that were in the public for years. And of course we know why. Because Trump was buddy-buddy with Epstein. So the fact that she really, really wants to release these files, I'm only just waiting for how long it takes Trump to dump her and go for someone else. Simply because he would be found out to be part of the Epstein files, because we know his name is in there. Hell, he knows his name is in there. You can tell in interviews when asked about the Epstein files and would you release that, he has to squirm his way out of it because he knows damn well his name is in the files. So anyway, yes, this is a warning to everybody that if you say something Trump doesn't like and you think that this is perfectly fine, it's only a matter of time before he comes after you. I have the privilege of having I wouldn't even call it a baby channel. It's a fetus channel. So, yeah. It's a fetus channel, so he will never find out about me, so I'm safe. But for most people, if they make a big enough name for themselves or big enough stink, he will come after you. So anyway, that is all I have for this video. And with that, I will see you in the next one.